Good evening, everyone. Merry Christmas. My name is Lee. It is my great privilege to serve on staff here at Broadway Baptist Church, and we are honored to host this meeting for you tonight. I have been asked to let you know that as a church, we are not endorsing one side or the other, but we do endorse the city of Sand Springs, and we're glad to serve in this capacity in whatever way we can. If you haven't found them yet, the men's room is through that door on your left to my right. Women's room is over here to my left and to your right. And I'm going to give you a choice. I can preach, or we can pass the plate. Pass the plate? It's like every Sunday morning if I gave that same option. All right. But seriously, we are glad that you're here, and we're glad to be able to do this on behalf of you and the city. And I've also been asked to pray. We see this as our Father's house, and when we gather together with the Father, it is our privilege to speak to Him. So I'm going to speak to our Father tonight. Let's pray together. Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you for the evening. Father, we thank you for the decorations here in the building that remind us what this time of season is for, that your people can celebrate again the first coming of our Savior. Father, we thank you for the privilege of allowing this meeting to occur tonight. Father, we thank you for what that means for us, not only as a church, but as citizens of the city and of this country. Father, we thank you for the privilege of having free speech. Father, we pray tonight for calm hearts. We pray for clear minds. We pray for those who will be speaking, those who will be asking questions, that they get the answers that they're looking for. Father, we know that the best way to make the best decision possible is to have all the information we can get. And so we pray that that is the purpose of this meeting tonight. Father, we thank you for those that have put this together. We thank you for our volunteers that are here to help. Father, we thank you that we are citizens of the United States and that we have rights that we can exercise to say that we still belong to the greatest country in the world. Bless this meeting tonight, Father. We pray these things in Jesus' name. And all God's people said, amen. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Kyle Schmidt. First of all, thank you all for showing up for your community, showing up to learn, showing up to be heard. Just a little bit. So I'm the president of Protect Sand Springs Alliance. We formed this organization at a moment's notice the second we found out what the city's plans were. The group and the community that has come together, I could not be more honored and privileged to serve. So, you guys are showing up for your friends, your neighbors, your family members when it counts, when livelihoods are on the line, when voices are on the line, when futures are on the line. And that says a lot about Sand Springs as a community and who we are. And again, it just doesn't get any better than that. So thank you again for showing up tonight. Just a couple little things. So we're just going to do this quick introduction here. But if you look at your bulletin, there's kind of a schedule there. So we're going to try and stick to that as close as we can. When it gets to the open mic section, we'd like to start with folks that have questions first. We don't have a whole lot of time, so it's a very complex subject, and we don't want to get too far into the weeds. If you haven't, or if you can go on our website or our social media pages. If you don't do social media, you can get a hold of us through our website. We have email and a phone number on there. You can get a hold of us that way. And we have more than enough people that are knowledgeable and would be happy to go into the weeds with you and answer some of the more finer details. But we really just want to educate everybody about overall what this impact would look like on our community and why it's not the right fit for Sand Springs. There is a spot on the back where you can take notes. If you have a question, go ahead, write it down. That way you don't forget when the time comes. And then we also have fundraising QR codes on the back, on the bottom. Fundraising has been absolutely critical for us to get the word out as fast and quickly as we have to as many people. We have signs down front. Signs are free. We ask for a donation if you can to help cover the cost of the signs. That has exponentially grown our reach because every time we purchase a run of signs, we take the money that we make from those signs and we buy more. And so as you drive around town, you will see more and more signs because your donations are helping us get the word out. It's very, very important. We have signs, we have print materials, we have consulting fees. Fighting this fight is not a cheap fight, and we expect it to get more expensive. So please, if you can, anything, any bit helps. We also can take cash or checks made out to Protect Sand Springs Alliance. And we have a board of directors. We are a formal organization, nonprofit. And so we have a board of directors that are members of the community so that we can be accountable to you guys for your hard-earned money that you entrust us with to fight on your behalf. And so thank you for that as well. Without further ado, I think I'm going to introduce Mike Bennett. He is one of the members of our board. He gave the first presentation up at Rock Fire Department several weeks ago. He's dove in so deep, and so I will also encourage him to not go too far into the weeds. But Mike?
So a couple things before I start. First one is, if anybody of you knows me or my family, if you get a picture, send it to my mom. She will never believe that I was on the mic in the front of a church. Second one is, she would also never allow me to wear a hat in church. I did bring my Sand Springs hat. How about that football game, guys? I don't know if Odell's parents are here tonight, but that 4-yard run that changed the end of the game there, fantastic. Congratulations to you. So let me get started with what we have on our Sand Springs Alliance. As we move on our first page, we're going to talk about what is a data center. So as I'm out and about in the community, as I'm talking to people, that's the first question that I get from people. Well, what is a data center? So most of the time, I'm gonna focus really tonight for speed reasons on a hyperscale, which is what we anticipate is gonna come to Sand Springs if they have their way. So we're basing that on size. Of course, all NDAs have been signed, so we're not exactly 100% sure what we're getting, but we're basing this off of facts and what we've seen in other areas. So it's going to encompass a really large, 800 plus acres, multiple buildings. They're going to have things like BESS systems, which I'll get into in a few minutes, which are your battery systems. They're going to use a lot of water, a lot of energy. Inside these buildings, they store computers. And so these power things like there's cloud storage, they do crypto mining. When you pick up your phone and you say, hey Siri, or you say, hey Google, those are the kind of things, that kind of AI, when you do a Google search, like how do I build a house? And it comes with that AI data. That's the kind of information that comes out of these data centers. So what exactly is Project Spring? If you look at the picture up here, that is the entire city of Sand Springs with the campus up on the north. And as we zoom in on the pictures, this encompasses 826 acres. It's going to be 6 miles north of town, from city limits. White Rose Partners is the founding group that we know is behind this, the project group leading this that spoke with the city. That's about all the detail we have. We don't know much about them. We know they're based out of Dallas. This facility is scheduled to be a 500 megawatt facility is what the information we were given by PSO. To put that in perspective for you, PSO's current single largest use customer is 130 megawatts. They have signed one letter of agreement with another data center for 1,000 megawatts, which will be PSO's largest single use customer in history, followed by ours, which we anticipate, according to PSO, will be a 500 megawatt facility, which will be the second largest single use customer PSO has ever had. That's right now they're looking at a $1.2 billion rate hike that they've submitted to OCC, Oklahoma Corporation Commission. If approved, this first round of approval will put about a $10 to $15 increase on your electric bill, is what they're anticipating if you are a PSO customer. So this location is surrounded by homes, ranches. I'm sure that most of you know where Zink Ranch is. This is just south of John Zink Ranch, a couple miles south of there on Highway 97. My family alone is, fifth generation now. My children are fifth generation on my land raising cattle, so. This property encompasses a couple creeks. There is water there. PSO power lines that run through this property run to this property. We're also going to have to deal with transmission lines. As you go to these meetings, if you were at the golf course, you'll notice they did not show the transmission lines. Some of the pictures had the data lines. The transmission lines will be huge to bring in that kind of power. Raw water, what's going to happen there? We're worried about the water runoff and what's going to happen from this facility as we move on. So let's talk a little bit how we got to where we are. And as we run through the dates on our timeline here, so May 5th, there was a petition sent to Sand Springs, the city council, to annex this land. There was votes recommended for the annexation, and that happened in June. Also in June, the annexation was approved. In November, that's when the postings came out for zoning change application and hearing. Also in November was our first community meeting. So keep in mind that these meetings and stuff started happening in May. The attention to the public, there was a couple notices that were released in June in the Tulsa World. It took me about 2 hours of searching using the search engine on Tulsa World to even find those notices. There was no notices here in Sand Springs itself. So November 10th, we find out about it when they posted the meetings. 18th, we had our first community meeting. And now we have, the Planning Commission has actually, their meeting last week was canceled and it's been rescheduled for what we believe is going to be January or February. We don't have those dates yet. So Sand Springs, in our opinion, right, this isn't right for the community of Sand Springs, both from a cost standpoint and from a water standpoint, infrastructure standpoint. So in this process, there was an NDA that was signed. So that means your city officials, when they first got into contact with this group and they talked to them, there was an NDA signed that they couldn't share the data with you or with us. So we are fighting a battle against something we don't know all the details about. All we know is historical data and where it gets. We are saying that this land should remain ag zoned. If the plan goes according to the way they have it structured now, this land will be converted to light industrial instead of traditional agricultural land. So before any of this notice, there was tours going on at this facility, planning long before we ever found out about it, before you as a community in Sand Springs found out about it. And of course, when they annexed it, right, it wasn't, you hear a lot benefit of the city, right? We're going to bring water, we're going to bring, infrastructure, we're going to do all these great things for you. But for whatever reason, and take this as you will, only this property was annexed. Nothing along the way, nothing to help the rest of the community, just this annexation for this particular piece of property. I want to play this video for you guys. I think it'll help clarify some things.
Jimmy Apperson.
Not wanting to sign an NDA?
I haven't seen any NDA in front of me, so. I can answer that. We signed an NDA. Mike Carter signed it on behalf of the whole city council, and it's just simply so we can talk about information, and they feel that if the information that they're sharing with us sometimes, and again, it's not terribly specific, but they feel if that is public knowledge, it'll be much more difficult for them to do the project.
So I don't know if you guys heard the wording there, but basically they agreed to sign an NDA, and they said one of the reasons they have to sign an NDA is it makes it much harder to convey this to the locals and get people in the community to buy into the project if people know who they're dealing with. And I thought that was a great clip, very telling of how I perceive that this NDA is not a good thing for us. If they signed that because they knew it would be a bad thing for the community, so they wouldn't have to talk to us about it. So we talked about power consumption a little bit already. We know that this facility, or we anticipate, PSO told us 500 megawatts at the golf course meeting when I talked to a public, what was his title? community relations, I believe. His last name was Rojas, and we sat down and had a little bit of a conversation about power usage because I was quite concerned about how we're going to make that happen here in Sand Springs. That's the kind of power it would take to supply power for over 500,000 homes. You know, I've already talked to you about the increased electric bill that as it sits right now, if this $1.2 billion tax rate, or not tax rate, rate hike goes into effect, and everybody who's a PSO customer will see a $10 to $15 increase. Kyle and I ran some math. Kyle actually did the math on it. We were talking about this, and he said, you know, if we continue at the rate and the anticipation of these data center comes in, if we keep moving at the same rate we are, that by 2030, that's going to account to another $165 a month on your PSO bill if we keep moving at the same rate we are. Of course, you're going to get new infrastructure. That'll be one of the selling points. You will be on the hook to pay for that. There's some video out there. I'd be happy to share it with you. It's on some of my works cited. And they talk about how these data centers coming in should have to pay for most of the electricity and most of the infrastructure, but I love the fact that they never use the word all. So when they put in the new transmission lines, the new power structure, that's going to come out of these rate hikes that they're submitting to the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. We talked about water usage. So here's what we know on these hyperscale data centers. There's a really large range of water usage. That's going to depend on whether they are open loop or closed loop. You'll hear both buzzwords. Again, with the NDA in place, we're not 100% certain which one we're getting in Sand Springs. What I can tell you is based on that, a hyperscale data center will use somewhere between 5,000 and 5 million gallons of water a day. If you do the comparison, we know the city of Sand Springs can treat you go right to their website, 3.1 million gallons of water a day. They won't tell me how much we can release in fresh water, but we know we can treat 3.1. To me, that says that you can't treat any more than, or you can't release any more than you can treat. So we're going to need more water for this facility. Where is that water going to come from? We know it's going to come from Skiatook Lake. Currently, Skiatook Lake provides the water for the city of Sand Springs and Sapulpa. That amount of water, I'm sorry, did I say Skiatook? Yep. So one of the things, that amount of water, I used AI. I got on there and I said, how much will this water go? How do we put 5 million gallons into something tangible? And it said, well, that's enough water for a population of about 20,000 people. So Sand Springs, I went to the census data, and the last census, Sand Springs had a population of about 18,000. Estimated right now, we're about 20,300. So this data center will consume potentially as much water as the city of Sand Springs in a day by itself. We don't have an answer on the cooling system. We don't know if it's open loop or closed loop. Even if it's closed loop, Project Clydesdale has announced that they will circulate the water through their system 3 times, and then they will dump it into Bird Creek. So some of the environmental concerns that we have, and all of Sand Springs should have, is going to be things like noise pollution. We know in excess of, you can see up in excess of 96 decibels. There's some videos on YouTube that are very telling. If you go out there and put noise pollution from data centers and look at people in their front yards and the sound from the cooling towers. Light pollution, obviously there's a security risk because this is a data center, so overnight hours they'll have a tremendous amount of light. And that runs, obviously all night long, so you're going to see this glow up north here. Stormwater runoff, what we don't know is where does this water go? It's uphill and then down, so they would have to pump off. To get it back to Sand Springs, they'd have to pump stations along the way and get it back. So will they use retention ponds? If they do, in Oklahoma, especially Osage County up there, we like to joke and say we grow rocks. So it's rocky soil up there. Where does that water run off? What hazards are in it? PFAs, what's running into the water that our animals drink? Those on well, who's absorbing it? There's things like battery energy storage systems that are going to be there. There's 40-foot storage containers filled with lithium-ion batteries. PFAS I talked about, habitat destruction for wildlife, livestock health. Again, we don't know what our livestock are going to be drinking out of this water. So a couple things. I'm running out of time here. I'm going to try and move quickly. Revenue illusion is a big one. This is one, I'm always a money chaser, right? What does this mean? Because you're going to hear, Sand Springs is going to make a tremendous amount of money off this. We know from tax documents, they do not pay they do not pay property tax. They get a 5%, if their wages hit a certain level, they get a 5% cash rebate quarterly. on their income. If you're a software-based business, you don't pay taxes on that. So what I know about this, if you go to the state of Oklahoma and you pull up the ad valorem documents, because I know a lot of people, if you guys discuss this with your friends, you've heard, oh, look at Pryor, look how great Google is for them. All right, so in 20 years that Google's been there, approximately 2006, right? If you go and you look at the ad valorem documents for the state of Oklahoma, those are the tax reports on property tax that Google's not paying. The state of Oklahoma, out of the general fund, has to make up that money. So the state of Oklahoma, every year on the general fund, if you go back, I've gone back as far as 2020, and I got so mad I quit. Between $38 and $40 million a year, the state of Oklahoma is writing out of the general fund to cover the property taxes for Google and Pryor. You know, sure, it's great for the school system. They're getting $40 million a year, right? But that's coming out of all of our tax dollars. I'm a little worried about the same thing happening here. We talked about water infrastructure. You know, I'm going to skip a couple things here because I know we got a long night and a lot to get through, but the tax documents is something I encourage you to look at. It is Oklahoma Record. Look up ad valorem, and you go down, you can scroll down. I think the first one's like page 2024, it's like page 28. I'm a little bit ate up with it, but page 28 will tell you what Mays County got off of it. These are a couple things. I'll leave them up for just a minute. We got a couple other things we want to grab here. So these are, and we'll have copies of this information out too. Kyle alluded to it a little bit. I'm not here to tap into your wallets and beg you, but we are going to have a little bit of a fight. And all we're asking for is enough to help us along the way. I will let you know that, one of the things that we fight a lot about and talk about on the data center is that they don't use local. I will let you know that we have made a commitment as a board to protect Sand Springs Alliance. We only buy local. So the signs you see, the shirts that our folks are wearing, we don't buy from Amazon, we don't buy from Google, we don't buy from the internet. It might save us a few dollars. We're local, we buy local. So I'm going to step down. Thank you guys so much for letting me bend your ears. I can talk facts and data. I have all of my work cited. All of us do. We'd be happy to show you where we're getting our facts from. Two things before I step down. Do we have any members of the city here tonight? Just for the record, they were invited, so you guys know. I encourage the debate with them. We had a great discussion at our first meeting. I was hoping maybe some of them would have come up tonight. So we're going to open this up for discussion. I'm not going to load you full of facts tonight. If come find me, come talk to me. I'll be happy to give you my phone number. All of our information's on our website. We're going to try and do questions first. So if you have questions, we're going to all be available to try and answer some questions for you. We're going to limit your time to 3 minutes so that we can kind of give everybody a chance. We got a lot of people. I'm so glad you guys all came out tonight. And then after the questions, we're going to try and move to statements. If you feel powerful, if you feel emotion and you want to share something about this, you have something you want to come up and say to the crowd, and I welcome you. Even if you're on the other side of this and you're here tonight to debate this with us, I encourage you even to come up here and let's have a polite debate and let's talk the facts. So, Mandy, I think, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure I passed out to some of you all just a few questions. You do not have to complete these, but we want to give everyone an opportunity to have a voice. For some of us, we're not comfortable coming up to the mic and speaking, or it takes us a minute to kind of process that information. I will come by and pick these up, so the lady right here with the green sleeves will come by and pick them up. What we're trying to do is just collect a little bit of that qualitative data. It says if you could say one thing to city council, what would that be? If you could say one thing to the developer, what would it be? That way, when we get the opportunity to stand before the city council or stand before whoever we can share that information as a collective voice. Again, there is power in unity, so I just want to say thank you. And if you would want one of these to fill out, just raise your hand and we'll run them to you if you didn't get a chance.
Well, how about we just start with you? Come on up here. You can be first. Yep, if you guys want to come down and jump in line.
So I heard, and I don't know how true this is, and I'd like to know, that there is the possibility of an injunction being filed to try to stop this. Is that true?
So what I can tell you at this time as a member of the board, we are looking into legal aspects and what we can do. I am not hiding behind an NDA, but there's a few things that aren't quite ready to be knowledge yet because we don't want to show all of our cards quite yet. But yes, I can assure you as a board, we are taking this fight in every which direction we can. You still got time.
Yeah, one more question.
Yep.
Is your PowerPoint on your website?
I'm not sure where'd Kyle go. Okay, it can be tonight. I can tell you our first one, which is really long and really in-depth. It takes me a good hour plus to get through it. That one is already up, as well as all of our work cited, every piece of information we have. We didn't just Google AI it. We have data. We have newscasts. We have a lot of things where we pull our information from.
Great, thank you for doing this.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Everything's kind of moving to Tesla power. You know, you've heard of that. I build houses and boat docks, so I'm not a genius on that. But really, it seems like a nail you in the when they can't pay for the doings. Kind of beats all the pockets that got fed. Anyway, it's something to look into.
Thank you.
My wife's question is, were any of the members of White Rose invited to attend this meeting?
Yes, they were.
Did they agree?
Anybody here from White Rose?
Okay, I have a few questions regarding the development. Once, if it is approved, who will they be using to contract with for the maintenance, the security, the janitorial services, all of that? Those are questions that I have.
Sure.
And other questions as a fisherman that I've actually contacted the White Rose people, and they say they're not going to have much impact on Skytook Lake. I don't have one opinion or not on that, but I'm concerned that the lake levels, given our weather patterns here in Oklahoma, that the lake levels are going to really be impacted.
So let me start with that one, and then we'll work the other way. So what I know is the Corps of Engineers is already looking into this. They're opening up some discussion.
Yeah.
They're coming up with some new plans. It's open for public discussion. So they are looking at it. I will tell you, let me throw this out there as a fact, that one of the reasons Northeast Oklahoma is being targeted is because we are what they consider water abundant. As a fisherman, you know as well as I do, Oklahoma's dependent on rain. If we don't have rain, we're not water abundant.
Right.
Your other question about work. So let me tell you what I know. I am partially involved in the construction world. We work with steel. That's what I do for a living. I can tell you I have never quoted a single job for any of these data centers coming in. I've never got the opportunity to quote steel. The other thing I can tell you is they will not guarantee local work. Some places have tried to get these data centers coming in to agree to only using local labor for construction equipment. So far to date, I have not been able to find a single person or a single data center that was willing to sign that. And I can tell you that they use their own construction crews from out of state. They use the same crews at all their data centers, so there is no guarantee of local work.
Well, if they apply for tax incentives via the Oklahoma Quality Jobs Act, they will certainly be required to have local vendors, is what I understand.
They will bring a few in because they can't meet all the needs. Like we know some of our temp services are using. They'll bring people in to help. They're going to use like helping the electricians pull wire, helping plumbers pull pipes and stuff like that. But yeah, the majority of their labor will come out of state.
And
Thank
sir,
you.
I want to answer your question about Skytook Lake. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Tulsa District will release an online draft of Skytook Lake Master Plan and Environmental Assessment for public comment on December 17th, 2026. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to go. 2025, I'm so sorry. It's on the website as 2026. It is, I just read it, yeah. So, okay, perfect.
Which is, yeah, that's actually just what I was going to say. And it is on the website as 2026, so, but it is 2025. It's a little misleading. But yeah, it's a document that hasn't been updated since 1976, and they're doing it now. So everyone review and comment.
So this gentleman here, his wife is very, very knowledgeable. This is what she did for a living prior to them starting their family farm. And she is a great asset that's coming on board with us and helping us get some information on water and clarity on water. She's worked closely in the past with City of Sand Springs on water treatment and very knowledgeable. So she'll have some more information for us to present as well.
I'm a stand-in. She's got a sleeping toddler on her. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put the link up on the website.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Rhonda Tilson. I've lived up here for about 26 years, raised my kids here. I have a lot of questions, and I'll limit it because there's time. So, I'm terrible with microphones. I'm telling you. Okay. Is that better? Okay, sorry. Okay, Rhonda Tilson. I've lived up here for 26 years, raised my kids here, and this is super disappointing. I've always been a fan of Sand Springs, and I was shocked. So based on that, I'm going to carry on with the water stuff. So I know we have an NDA. That's what I've done my entire life. I understand NDAs. I understand compliance and regulations. This is just crap, for lack of a better word. It benefits, I don't know
Can
how
I get
else to
an
say
amen?
that. It's like, come on. So it benefits the company. It does not benefit us in any way. I can understand NDAs for maybe some proprietary inner workings, but not what they're shielding us from. And why is that? Why are they shielding us? So now I'll get to my question. So fundamentally different, and I think everybody in the room needs to understand that. An NDA with a fast food restaurant, okay, yeah, you can do that. This is fundamentally different because it affects our environment. It affects everything that surrounds our way of life, and that's something that we really need to stand on. Okay, so with that, my next question is, I'm hoping that you guys can relay these back. So with this NDA, are they willing to go in? Our city councilman, our mayor, whoever's dealing with them, can they narrow down that NDA so that we can actually talk about the infrastructure impacts? We need to see these environmental studies, and I've not seen anything. I know their new website said some stuff. It didn't work. It's just not really worth it. But I would really like to see, can they revoke it or narrow it down so that we can have some true information to give us more detail about what they're planning to do?
So, all right, go ahead.
Okay.
I can kind of answer that one because I've had this discussion directly with Jim Spoon after our last meeting. I kind of tried to nail him to the wall pretty good on the whole NDA thing. First of all, the NDA, if it was authorized by the city council for the city manager to sign it, it should have been in the minutes. It wasn't. No explanation.
100%. Yeah.
So that's part of it. Part of their defense was we did modify the NDA. We didn't sign the first one that they brought to us. We actually sent it back to them, marked up, and made them change it. So the NDA that they signed was the version that the city council was okay with. So trying to get them to be more forthcoming has been a fruitless effort thus far, and I don't have high hopes.
That's okay. I was just curious to see what their efforts and what their response would have been. So
Yep.
I totally get that. So a couple things on the water, and I know I'm down.
You're all right. I'll
really
give you a few
fast.
minutes extra because we were fixing that mic.
I have notes. So the water thing, I'm really glad that we're revisiting that, but I'd like to see them break out how many gallons per day max, what percentage of the total city water production and wastewater is written into what they're doing. I think that we're entitled to know those things as a community. And we also need a drought scenario. Nobody's talking about that. We're great right now, but 5 years ago, things were not good. So what happens when there's a drought and they're still trying to pull water from our local lakes? It's like not okay. So I would like to see that written into anything the city has to offer. And I'll stop. One more thing and I'll stop. I know you mentioned those lithium-ion battery banks, and it's like I've not heard them talk about that. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's huge. So lithium ions, I don't know if anyone knows or not, but when those catch fire, there's nothing. You've got to sit and let it burn. And it's like if they're storing those things like that, well, one, is our team trained for that? Do we have fire and safety management to even control that? And when you're talking wooded areas, they're 800 acres, even if they're building that somewhere that's supposedly landscaped when it's safe, Is it really? How are they going to control a fire that burns uncontrollably like that?
So you're 100% correct. In my massive presentation that I do, I play a video on there. There was one this year in California that one of these containers caught on fire. It burned for 17 days.
Yeah.
There was an evacuation. The fire department cannot put them out. All they can do is watch. So you think about, I mean, Sand Springs, we have a great fire department. It's just the right size for Sand Springs. But if they've got to sit up 6 miles north of town for 17 days while one of these burns, what does that mean for everybody in town when your house catches on fire?
That is crucial. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, and if you want to talk more afterwards, I love the NDA thing. Come find me, Kyle, all of us.
First of all, thanks for having this meeting. I have a question, not for you, but for everyone here. Everyone here has done some research, gone to some of these meetings, talked about it. Let me have a yes or a no. How many say yes for this? How many say no? No. For me, the fear of loss is much stronger than the promise of gain.
Thank you. Sir?
I personally don't live in Sand Springs, but I came to the meeting today because I heard that the water would come from SkyTook, and I go to SkyTook a lot. And I just was curious if you have solicited some help from SkyTook and some of the surrounding communities to help fight this fight, because it just doesn't affect Sand Springs, it affects everybody else. And when you talk about the utility rate, it doesn't matter where in the region this thing moves to. If it doesn't get built in Sand Springs and it moves over to Coweta, we all have the same utility company.
Yep.
We're all going to end up paying for it. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up that maybe you wanted to add to your presentation is if they do have wastewater that the city has to treat, and they have to expand the wastewater treatment plant to take care of that, the city will end up having to pay for that, which is the taxpayer.
Yep, I was going to say the city will pay for it, but it'll be a loan from us.
Yeah.
So you are 100% correct on the other communities. Yes, I have involved them. I shouldn't say I, we have. We have some really good friends actually in the city of SkyTook. Some of the teachers there are really close family friends to my wife and I. We have yes, encouraged them. The one bit of discouragement that I've got, and you know, that entire first meeting that we played the little clip of about the NDAs, that entire video is out there on our YouTube page. And if you'll watch the video, there's a portion of that video where they tell us that those of us up north, that this is going to directly impact, and this would apply to the city of SkyTook, Sperry, all the other people that are going to be impacted by this. What they told us is we were not within city limits. We're not voting. We're not represented by the city of Sand Springs. So the short of it is our opinions don't matter, and I would assume they would probably extend that to you good folks in SkyTook, but.
That leads straight into my question. So the annexation of this property was done behind closed doors pretty much, and we've all heard the phrase of being taxed without representation. If each of the council members are responsible for a certain district, is there a representation of our little 826 acres out there? Is there a council member who, well, so when my question is, they all get to vote yes or no, deciding whether this happens or not, and none of them are representing that property?
Correct.
Do you understand my question? So do we have someone who could be voted to be on the council to represent that particular piece of property?
So that's a really big question, and actually that's one that as a community and as a board we've discussed. Correct me, Kyle, you know more about this than I do, but that is actually all the way up to the state level, right? They would have to change to be
as far as representation for
Correct.
that piece of property. Yeah, so the state statutes determine who is considered a qualified elector. And from my research that I've done so far, a qualified elector has to live within the incorporated municipal boundaries. So if you live outside in the unincorporated municipal boundaries, you don't get representation in the city that you shop in, that your kids go to school in, that you live in, that your neighbors and family live in. Sorry, you don't get a vote because you don't live inside the incorporated municipal boundary.
Or the school board.
Or the school board, exactly. One more question. So does the NDA include the incentives that were given to this particular company to come?
We don't know what's in the NDA, but we assume so. I know some of these places use pilot programs. In addition to the tax incentives, there's also a lot of municipalities that use what's called a pilot program, and pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes.
Exactly.
And so honestly, I can't tell you the answer to that question. I assume that there has to be some kind of offer, but it's all guarded by an NDA, so we do not know what those offers are. Obviously, the incentive to take a pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes, somebody would take that because it's a better deal than paying the taxes. So, but again, we can't answer that question.
And real quick, on the topic of the NDA, we are filing open records requests with the city to try and get a copy of that, what all they will redact out of it. Okay, never mind, I got somebody who's been helping us out here who says he might have a copy of it. So we're working on getting to the bottom of it and uncovering all the details that they never wanted to share because it would have made it more difficult to do the project.
Thank you.
Just in case you haven't noticed, that's Kyle's favorite video.
Yes, thank you for hosting this, and thank you, and I want to say thank you to the Baptist Church for having us here. Yes. Now, let me ask you this. Would you say that the three main ways this could shake out would be they get their data center full-blown the way they want it, or they get some type of a compromised, negotiated, good data center, or no data center?
Yes.
Is there a fourth option?
The fourth option, and one of the ones and one of the reasons we are trying to mobilize the community now, not just on this data center, but to educate the community on data centers in general, is if this one gets killed and you read through the city council minutes, there are other things that they are doing in executive session that are hidden from public view. And our concern is companies don't throw millions of dollars at a project like this on a maybe without having a plan B. So the fourth option would be not this one, and maybe some collaboration, but maybe on a different site. So
I can tell you as a board, our first option as a board is no. Our second option, if we just can't stop it, is we're going to fight like heck for noise abatement, light abatement. You know, we're going to fight for all those things if we can. And then our third is, you know, we're just a group of citizens trying as hard as we can with a lot of backing, and we may not get any of those things, and we may just be stuck with what we get. So, yeah, those are kind of the options we're looking at. And our fight, if we win the fight where it's currently located, I can assure you, Kyle and I and the other board members have had some very strong conversations about it. Our answer is just no for Sand Springs. We'll fight it wherever it goes.
Yeah. Well, and I like that because one of the potential options could be put in another part of Sand Springs, and so that's what I want to ask, and like this gentleman, it's similar to what he said, and it was a representation of people saying no if they wanted to say no or yes, and I think this is a good visual representation for our representatives, which they should be here, or the council members, they should be here, but since they're not, they will be able to see this, I'm sure. We do have some media, and there's people posting videos. So I want to ask if you would raise your hand for what you would want to vote for. The fourth option, that's some type of a compromised place for the data center or something in the future. Would you like that? Would you raise your hand? Okay, there's probably over 300 people here. I don't see any hands raised. All right, the compromised good data center with light abatement and maybe a soundproof barrier or anything. The good data center. Would you raise your hand? You want that? Okay, the full-blown data center, we're not going for that. All right, would you raise your hand? Do you not want a data center in the city of Sand Springs? Okay, I'd say let the record be known that the vast majority of the 300 plus people here voted no. We do not want the data center. All right.
Before we move on to the next stage, go ahead.
I got one real quick interjection on there while everybody's raising their hands. Some of the feedback we've gotten from city council members is they're not hearing from their constituents that they don't want a data center. It's just us people up north that are just raising a bunch of ruckus and trying to stir up trouble. So if you live in the city of Sand Springs, in the municipal boundary, how many came out tonight that actually live in the city? So I'm going to call malarkey on the city council statement,
So while we're on that same note, before I move to the next one, I really meant what I said, folks, that right now you're helping me, not with just Fight for All of Sand Springs, but you're helping me with something close to my family outside of town, because I need your help to fight that for both of us. My fight doesn't stop with me. It's on record. You guys are hearing me say it now. If we win this one and they move it somewhere else, you'll still see me fighting that fight wherever it is. I don't know, Darren, have you made it here tonight? Here he is back here. So he's a really good friend of ours. He fights the good fight. He's been in Coweta. He's been all over the place. We aren't just unifying here in Sand Springs. We're unifying across northeast Oklahoma. I imagine at some point Darren's going to step up to the microphone. This guy is one of the smartest anti-data center people, guys, you'll ever meet. And he's here from Mounds tonight, actually. Go ahead before I take up any more time.
So really, I've just got a quick, easy question for you. I won't take up too much of your time. One of the biggest things that I've seen and heard is that there were a series of meetings amongst your counselors and those related to this project and the data center. Essentially, to get around the Open Meetings Act, they met individually, one at a time. There's very clear case law in Oklahoma that says anything done in contravention of the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act is what's called per se invalid, meaning if they did anything after violating the Open Meetings Act related to an issue, they've got to fix the mistake, and it invalidates everything that they've done. So as you're talking to your lawyers and your legal team, and you're talking about an injunction, one of the things, have you thought about trying to invalidate every action that they've taken in violation of the Open Meetings Act, which may even go back and kick out the zoning, the rezoning and the annexation of that piece of property into the city to begin with, if they all started this after having those communications? Have you thought about that?
I'm going to pass the buck to Kyle. He knows more about law than I do.
Without giving away any of the legal strategies, we don't want to tip our hand. We do feel like we have some more expedient and easier routes to go to challenge what the city did. I don't want to go into too many details. I appreciate that information. We were pretty strongly suspecting that there have been some violations of the Open Meetings Act. It's just a very hard paper trail to follow, especially when they don't publish all of the minutes, as in the authorization to sign the NDA was not in any city council minutes.
Which would be required under the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act.
Exactly. So trying to follow a paper trail that was deliberately hidden and perhaps non-existent is a longer term battle that we may have to go down, but we feel like we might have some faster, more shorter term resolutions on the table that we're pursuing at the moment.
So you sound very knowledgeable.
Maybe a little bit.
I would love it, actually, if you would get in touch with us.
Yeah, they've got my
Okay, I'm always seeking people to help. If there's an area of expertise you're good at, I'm always, so.
Yeah, I'll help in any way I can. I'm against data centers in anywhere in Oklahoma that they could possibly come up. And this is why I got my second question, if I could ask it real quick.
Yep.
One of the things that the city of Sand Springs said to me as I was asking them questions about this data center is that they're not going to provide the power to the data center directly, that PSO is going to directly provide the power to the data center. And they say that as like we don't have to provide all the infrastructure, all of those things. But here's my question. From all of your research, I couldn't find anything. Can you find anything that says that when the power consumption rates go up, that they're not going to charge peak rates to the residential customers because they're selling more power to these data centers? I can't find anything that guarantees their power rates at all in any of these backroom deals. Have you seen anything?
Yeah, so that's part of the problem with this is the nature of the backroom deals. They're expecting us to give our community's stamp of approval and blessing to the city council as our elected, as well as your guys' elected representatives, not mine, that they have your best interest at heart, and so we're just going to make these deals in secret and not tell you about it until later. What a lot of communities have found out across the country is those deals are not as good as they made them sound. And so we're trying to preempt that and say, no, we're not saying yes to anything until you come clean. Lay your cards on the table. If you are an open body and subject to Open Records Acts and you are supposed to represent the people, then represent the people, not the developers. And lay your cards on the table.
So I want to throw something in there that I learned from Darren that I was just talking about a minute ago, and that is that these data centers and locations, we know when they come in, they're going to do some things called greenwashing. What greenwashing is selling yourself as being green. So one of the things they'll do, they have the ability to put in their own power stations, substations. They put in wind power, solar power, things like that. And when you drive by, you'll go, oh my gosh, look, that data center is doing a great thing. They're putting in solar panels, they're putting in wind turbines, they're going to create their own electricity. And this is actually a fight this is what got Darren involved in this. What they actually do is there's a massive transmission line that starts in eastern Colorado, runs through Oklahoma, and ends up in Tennessee. What they actually do is they negotiate electric rates that are so cheap that it's cheaper to buy our the electricity that they generate, they pipe into that transmission line and sell it to Tennessee, so the solar panel doesn't even power the data center. I'm not sure which side we're on, but...
So first, let me say, I'm leaving after my comments because I know you're going to all want to run me out. But I lived in this community for 20-something years. I live in Manford right now. My daughter still lives here. I was on the Sand Springs Economic Development Authority. I have actually been part of a team that started 4 medical schools. I've been associate dean at those 4 medical schools. You were disappointed, or appeared to be disappointed, that you didn't have representation from the people trying to do this. And I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but there is a ProjectSpringOklahoma.com, which is put up by them. Huh? Yeah, .com. ProjectSpringOklahoma.com, where they're beginning to try to communicate with the community and tell them what they're trying to do. No one offered that. Certainly the minister said that it was good to get both sides of the information. And I'm a scientist, so I certainly believe in both sides of the information. So don't jump too fast, because my kids got a great education here. But I know, and you know for a fact, we've always played second fiddle to Jenks and Union and Broken Arrow. And this could be a difference for it. If nothing else, most of you have children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren that could potentially benefit from this. So get the facts, educate yourself, make sure you make informed decisions. And I wish you the best.
So no, I'm glad you got up here and said that. I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you sharing that, because you're right. They did just release that information, and we're aware. I work for the school systems at every level, the university level, every level. I'm not saying those dollars won't be good for schools. What we know about tax dollars for schools is what Pryor has done. We're just switching dollars for dollars. It's still our state dollars that are being spent. There's still our tax money being spent. I went through that website, and I would like for you, in fact, I encourage you, and give us back some information as a scientist to look through that, because I couldn't find any solid facts and numbers and research backing it. And so I love that you brought that up, and I encourage you to share that with us, because we do want to look at that. I think that's part of it. We want all of us to be informed.
I just found it this afternoon.
We just found it. I just found it last night and spent my nighttime reading, and I couldn't find any references or cited or any hardcore research.
But I think we all need to go to that site, dig in. They're beginning to try to communicate with the community.
You know who's trying to communicate? They're not doing a good
job of it. I'll grant you that.
But you know who's trying to communicate? Who put that site out? The developers are trying to communicate. We are looking for communication from our city. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for your service, and I appreciate you for sharing with us. Thank you.
Good luck.
I'm back.
I'm going to jump both sides. Go ahead.
So I'm an Osage County resident. I've been an Osage County resident for over 26 years. And before that, I lived in the city of Sand Springs for 18 years. And I know we've signed petitions to stop this whole thing. I want to know, is that petition going to go to the PAHUSCA when we try to fight it being changed from agriculture to light industrial? And how is it that they classify this as light industrial?
So either Kyle or do you know the answer on the petition? That's not my area of expertise. Yeah. What I can tell you also, for those of you that weren't at the first meeting, we've worked really closely with our county commissioner that represents this area. We went and talked to him and we said, hey, what do you know? What can you help us with? In his defense, you may be mad at him for other things or not, but in his defense, he told us they came to him at one point and tried to talk to him. They asked him to sign an NDA. He went to the ADA for Osage County and said, can I sign this? And they said, under Open Records Act, no. So the county commissioner for the area has not signed the NDA, so he is equally as blind in this as we are because they won't talk to him either.
So is the NDA in the process of trying to be broken? Because it should be open records. It's going to affect everybody around here.
Yep.
That's,
I want to know where the John Zink Foundation stands on this, since it's going to affect the hunting and gaming community, as well as all of the major communities and sports, the Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts, everybody that meets up there. It's going to affect everybody up there.
So to my knowledge, and somebody from the board, if you've heard the answer to this, her question was where the John Zink Foundation stands on this. To my knowledge, initially we reached out when we first started this, and I'll tell you, we had fingers going everywhere. When we talked to the Cattlemen's Association, we talked to the Osage Tribe, we talked to state representatives. I mean, we stuck fingers everywhere trying to see, who we could get. And I know early on we reached out to them. They were one of the people that we didn't initially get a comment on. And I know from my standpoint, I quit chasing that because I had so much to do. Does anybody know if we have an update on the Zink Foundation? No comment. No comment is what you got from them? Okay.
Wow, thank you. Sorry, one more comment. This all reminds me of the old movie Aaron Brockovich. If you haven't watched it, or if you have, go back and watch it again.
I think we're going to have a movie night and watch that.
You actually just answered my questions. I was going to ask, was Jake Clay Stairs, what's his position? Was he invited? And the same with the Osage Nation.
So the Osage Nation, they are still doing research at this point. They have not committed one way or the other at this time, to my knowledge. We are still working with them. We are still sharing our information, our knowledge. And again, obviously, we have a very strong opinion, but everything that we do is fact-based. I don't just say, well, they do this. We have the facts to back it up. What was the other one? Osage Nation? Clay Stairs. So I have his cell phone number in my phone. I've talked to him several times. As a whole, I don't want to get in too deep. I don't want to mudsling, right? So his opinion was he doesn't really like the location of it because obviously he lives really close to this. But he is open to exploring options and data centers for Oklahoma.
I know y'all talked about the lake earlier. It's chronically 4 foot below. As of noon today, the Tulsa Corps of Engineers says 3.99 foot, or 3 foot 9 inches below normal.
We took our youngest son
And
to
that's
show
chronic.
cattle.
I mean, how are they going to pull out that water?
That's a great question. We took our youngest son to show cattle. I know coming down Highway 20, I saw the flags and I could see the 4 foot flag showing. So 3.9 sounds right. That was Saturday. Honestly, all I can go back to is they seem to think Oklahoma, that the quote is water abundant, right, Darren? We are water abundant in Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm with you. All of us that live near Skytook Lake, go to Keystone, go to Grand. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We were what? Was it 13 feet just a couple years ago?
Well, my question was regarding Osage Nation, and you just answered that. So I'm going to go to my second question, which is, if I'm one of the unrepresentative people here that doesn't have a say or a vote to get our council to do anything, but if those that do could reach out to their councilman and ask them, what are you doing to ensure the safety of this site, the people around it, the community as a whole, your taxpayers? What are you going to do? You may have signed an NDA, but are you going to go visit previous campuses that they've done? You know who they are. If you know who they are, you can find out whether their published facts on the website are biased or not biased, whether they're true. And you can do some due diligence. Go look at their campuses wherever they have built them before and see what they're like so that they can make an informed decision. If they don't, I mean, that's the best we can do is make the best decision. I mean, I'm totally against it. I would not like to see it in Sand Springs or in Oklahoma, period. But I just want the people that do have a voice to be reaching out to those councilmen and asking those hard questions. What are you doing to protect us?
Definitely agree. That's kind of our call to action. You know, we're standing up here with our, I guess you say, pitchforks and tiki torches, and we're, you know, waving our tiki torches. But we really do need the support of everybody in Sand Springs. Reach out to your councilman, know who, you know, who's representing your ward, and reach out to those folks and let them know you're not happy with the situation.
I got a couple of questions. First one is, anybody reached out to ODOT and see what they're going to take care of since Highway 97 is a state road?
Is Brian here? He asked if anybody's reached out to ODOT. We've got a member of our coalition. I think he may have had to work tonight. He's not here, Chandra? He had to work? Okay. So Brian is at work tonight. He has, I don't know what the answer is from ODOT, but I don't think there's going to be much of one from ODOT until we get further into the development process.
And also, there's the issue of eminent domain for the power transmission lines to be run. They're not going to run it down public right-of-way.
So I'm glad you asked that question. This is one that I asked at the golf course. His question was about eminent domain. And when I talked to, I mentioned his name earlier. What's his first name? Actually, I have it right here, because I'm going to put his name out there so you can feel free to call PSO and talk to him. Rodrigo Rojas is his name. And when I asked him, I said, do you believe, because this is another question that came up from Darren and some of the stuff he shared with us, I said, do you believe in eminent domain? And he said, well, sir, we believe in using our agents to purchase land from individuals to run our transmission lines for rights of way. And I said, okay, that's great. Yes or no? Do you support eminent domain? His answer to me when I specifically asked him yes or no, his answer was, well, sir, we use agents to try and buy land from landowners to try and get right away. So obviously the answer is yes, they support eminent domain. And they can, because even though this is a data center project, right, the way that the laws are written in eminent domain is if it's for public access or betterment of public utilities, I forget the exact verbiage, but along those lines, that they can use eminent domain. So when it becomes a transmission power line issue, yes, they will. Darren that's back there, he creates, he's in farming and creates food. And in his project, they're trying to run, he's got 8 acres that he does, that he raises crops on. And they are trying to do eminent domain. That's what got him in this fight. They're trying to run a transmission line right through the middle of his property. You, sir.
Thanks for letting me speak again. I was on the phone this afternoon with Representative Stairs. For those of you who are not aware, the deadline, the legislative deadline for filing bills for the next legislative session has passed. Representative Stairs said he has filed a bill to regulate, or for regulation of data centers, but there's no language yet. So it's a shell bill, which has no language. So now is the opportunity to contact him to talk about possible language to be put in a bill to regulate data centers.
Even though that was, did you guys all hear that? So let me repeat it. So what he said was that the current timeline to get any information submitted for bills is passed, but there is a shell bill that Stairs has out there about regulating data centers. And his suggestion was to reach out to Stairs. And you know, again, I encourage everybody. I will say, as frustrated as I got in my conversation, that the man, he gave me his cell phone number in my research, and he has answered every time I've called him. So, you know, he's at least willing to debate it with me.
Yeah, he's very responsive.
Yep.
I attend his monthly breakfast here at the Old Town Cafe every month that he has one, and he's very responsive to listening to people and hearing what they say. He may not agree with you, but at least he'll give you a reason.
Yep, yeah, he called me the first time I spoke to him. We spoke once that morning. I shared some information with him that he asked for, and he actually called me back that evening on the first time that I spoke with him. So he is responsive. I'll give him that. You, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. So we have a city council that signed NDAs. They've annexed the land. They didn't show up tonight. It's not hard to tell which way they're leaning. Do we have any plan for public protest to put some pressure on these people?
So absolutely, follow the website, follow the Facebook. The last meeting that they had was, the city council meeting was, what was that? Well, yeah, but what was the last one? The 3rd. So on December 3rd, we lined up right down here at city council with all of our no data center signs. I think we had a relatively small turnout, probably 100-ish people that night. But yes, absolutely, we are all about beat the streets, raise some ruckus, put some signs. Peaceful. I don't want anybody going out there and, jabbing somebody in the eye, but yes. Yep, and on December 15th, yes, anytime there's a city council meeting, I can assure you we will be there and we will be protesting, and I encourage every one of you to show up.
Thank you.
I lived up about a mile and a half south of the Zinc Ranch for about 40 years. And my family and friends, we drilled 5 gas wells in 1972 on the Zinc Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Those wells caused Phillips to lay hundreds of miles of pipeline all through Osage County to buy gas. And I'm wondering, how does the Osage Council and the Osage, the Osage Mineral Estate, how do they feel about having over 800 acres of their property, their mineral rights, condemned without any compensation?
So before I answer that, did you guys all hear that? So he comes from the oil and gas industry, had dug wells, you said what, in the 70s?
Yeah.
In the 70s. Those wells are all throughout, or in southern Osage County, some of them on Zinc Ranch. And his question is, with his oil and gas experience and what they had to deal with to drill wells and move oil and gas, is where's the Osage's stance? Because, in Osage County, they have the mineral rights below the ground to the mineral. And I don't know if anybody else on the board can speak to this, but I can tell you they know about it. They're researching it. We're still talking to them weekly. We have not got an official stance at this point, but I know we're in a lot of communication with them. They're looking into it. As you well know, we grow rocks. The only way you're getting down is to blast in that part of the country.
Yeah. I mean, the mineral estate is superior to the surface.
Right.
Is it under lease? Is that 800 acres currently under lease? Oil and gas exploration? It is?
Yep, so to answer your question, you folks probably can't hear Manny, but yes, we have looked, there is.
Who's got the lease, do you know?
Yep, it is under open records, but.
Yeah, you can go up to Osage County.
Yep.
That's fine. I mean, I don't really care who it is. But it seems to me that if it's under lease, whoever has the lease is entitled to drill some wells in there, or at least stake locations, or whatever it is that they want to do.
Sure.
And it would seem to me that would hold that project up.
And that's something, honestly, that I know the mineral rights are there, but not having much oil and gas experience, I can't tell you where. I don't know what all the rules and maybe there is some mitigation plan that's under the NDA where they're going to work around the wells. I don't know. That's just speculation. Again, everything's under the NDA, so we have no idea what the plan is there.
Yeah, well, it seems to me that they can't go around,
sure,
condemning people's rights, with no compensation, no discussion, no anything.
Sure.
So that's all I got to say.
Yep. Thank you for your time, sir. Are we on this side now? Go. All right. Go ahead, sir.
I'm an engineer that has worked on a lot of big projects, and you have to be careful of the promises up front, because later they can always say those were preliminary. If it's not on paper, it means nothing.
Can I get an amen? You're preaching good. You still got time. You still got 2.5 minutes.
Well, one more thing. This is just kind of a funny, well, it's not funny, it's terrible, but For one company that I was working with, there was a salesman that said half of his job was being a professional truth twister. He was the company liar, and he was to make everything sound good. And companies have those people that's just about their whole job is to spin it to the customer and to the public.
Good. Well, these guys probably don't have one because they have NDAs.
And to add to that point, I also have a background in project management, multi-million-dollar projects, and even if it's on paper, doesn't mean you can't change it. Because you get into the project and you'll discover, hey, we have to drill 40 feet further into bedrock, or something else has come up, and because of existential circumstances, we're not going to hold up our end of that bargain anymore. So keep that in mind. My question is, I might have missed it earlier, how did all of this originate? Who sought out who? Was it the city saying, hey, we've got land? Was it a data center picking Sand Springs? Why did this start?
Well, at the golf course, I spoke with Aaron Ringel. Can you guys hear me now? I spoke with Aaron, and I don't know if you guys know the Ringel family, but I think last year there was a tree that fell on the house. It was no longer livable, so Alan and Susan moved to town. And I personally get calls and emails and letters all the time from people wanting to buy my house that I live in. So they just started getting unsolicited offers, and I believe they got a good one and decided to contemplate that. But that's my understanding of where it came from. I don't think they sought it out, but the opportunity landed in their lap, and they decided to try to pursue it.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details, but everything I've heard to this point is hearsay, and it sounds real familiar with what she just said, that one way or another that the project started with the Ringel family and the developers one way or the other, and then has progressed to where it is now.
And then just a couple of quick thoughts to leave with you guys. I know we've talked about the water level in the lake. It's 4 feet low right now. Water only drains faster the lower it gets. So just remember that as it's dropping, it's going to start dropping faster. Also, not trashing Pryor. I have family that lives in Pryor, but I don't see Pryor as a beacon of growth, a beacon of, I want to move here. I don't see where Google has benefited it. I hear the data center when I'm at their house, and it's a few miles away. I live south of town, and I'm going to see the light pollution north of town if that comes here. And I like enjoying the night sky. I think that's cool that Sand Springs is far enough removed from that you can still see the Milky Way. I don't want to lose that. And then also, you know, people say, oh, it won't happen to us, and I don't mean to sound emotional, but I don't want Sand Springs to turn into a Netflix documentary in 50 years of this and all the other places that get torn up by data centers. We don't know what's going to happen. So.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you hear any noise, it's probably my knees knocking. But I haven't heard anybody address this. I live off of Show Creek Road in 129th, so I'm just on the other side of the line that says I'm city, okay? So if fire department comes, I get Rock and Sand Springs. That's a good part. However, there's only 2 ways in to where that building is going to be. How many employees is this place going to have?
So again, everything's under NDA. We don't know for 100% sure, but based on what we know, it's very likely that employment will be less than your average McDonald's. Most of the jobs will be janitorial, maintenance, security. There'll be very few technical, and again, this is all based on other data centers because we don't know exactly on this one because of the NDA, but generally speaking, there'll be only a few technical jobs in there that are high paying. Most of them are going to be janitorial, security,
well, I'm
and maintenance.
talking about traffic going to and from this place, because there's only 2 ways in.
You'll likely have more.
Skytook on 20
Yep.
or Highway 97,
Yep.
which has to come off of Highway 412, and there's only one exit.
Yeah, construction will be the worst, and you're looking.
There's only one lane, and there's no way for them to make it bigger, no, unless they tear down houses that are there.
Yeah, at least 6 years of construction. So for 6 years, they'll have trucks and construction traffic, and I will be
It's
your.
going to tear up the roads,
Yeah.
which we have to pay for.
I don't know about anybody's driven on Rock School Road, but I'm
Have you ought to
personally
be
not looking
seen?
forward to it.
Osage County does not take care of the roads now.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, y'all, if we could get just some dead quiet here for just a second, you can hear the air conditioners running. So imagine that sound times how much for an industrial building that size. And I live a mile south. I don't know if I'll hear it or not, but you know what? I sure got a heart for my neighbors in my community that is living close that's going to have to hear that sound 24 hours a day or louder. So it's just a little auditory perspective for everybody.
There's been a lot of questions in regards to the potential revenue that'll go towards the city, our schools, our county. What I will tell you, the city of Sand Springs, but I'm a former city councilor, and I'm fairly familiar with the budget at the city. Our city has about an $80 or $90 million budget that they run on every year. They have $168 million in total funds right now. They just have spent $25 million on projects. They have 65 acres that they're developing on the south side of the river for residential. They have the big Sheffield crossing area. Their tax revenue growth the last 10 years has been 3% year over year. Their tax base, their sales tax base has risen between 60 and 70% in the last 10 years. They now get a tax base of around $18 or $19 million. I'm saying all this because our city has a very healthy budget, and they're doing a lot of good things around Sand Springs right now. Our city doesn't need an incremental amount of tax dollars, and I'm talking very incremental. Project Clydesdale, you may be hearing about it. It's North Tulsa off of North 76. By the way, it's on 500 acres. It's in an industrial area, okay? Not out in rural Oklahoma, plopping industrial in the middle of ag and residential. It's joining, who's out there? Whirlpool, yeah, and HP Data Center, et cetera, is already out there. You can read, go online, in lieu of taxes, because the tax incentive districts they've set up for that project, there's 4 tax incentive districts. They're immune, totally forego paying all ad valorem taxes for 25 years. Okay, so if you're not getting the tax benefit to the city, to the county, and where does all that revenue go? To the city, to the county, to the schools. Sound familiar? It's going back to the government. We're growing government. We're growing government. But anyway, in lieu of those taxes, and you were talking about pilot, it's payment in lieu of taxes. This is the generous offer Clydesdale has made to Tulsa County, who controls this, by the way. Whenever they finish their first data center cluster, there's going to be a cluster of 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, on this 500 acres. Whenever that first one is finished and it's occupied, which will be 2 or 3 years down the road, they will share $1.5 million in initial payment for all ad valorem tax entities. $1.5 million. Owasso schools will receive between $700,000 to $1 million of that money. Owasso schools budget is $100 million a year. Sand Springs school budget is over $60 million a year. Have we had any problems with passing bond issues for our school system or for our city? No, those are big capital projects. Have you seen everything that the school system's building? Our Sand Springs schools, it's great stuff. Doing a lot of good building going on. And even within the Sand Springs, it's been great. That's Project Clydesdale itself. And then there's Project Anthem, which is going to be by Hard Rock Casino out there. It's 800 million, 340 acres. Their tax incentive program, they give an 85% exemption for 25 years. They'll be getting 15% of the ad valorem after operational, basically represents about $1 million a year. And you've heard about Project Atlas out at Coweta. This is what they're advertising there. By the way, Project Anthem is by an industrial area. Project Atlas out in Coweta, 60 acres of it is city industrial property with personal property of about 235 acres. It'd be like Alan Ringel selling his property with the city. But right by industrial, okay? Industrial's right there. Extension of the city. The pilot in lieu of, in this case, the tax incentive is also for 25 years, no property taxes paid. Payment in lieu of taxes is estimated to be between $3 million and $5 million for that project. And the school system is supposed to get maybe $3 million of that. To the budget for the city of Coweta, it represents a general fund increase of about 10 to 20%. My point in all that is our city is healthy. Our schools are healthy. We don't need the risks associated with this project to our family members and friends who live up that way, okay? I estimated there's 500 plus families, maybe more, but within a mile there's 100 to 200 families that live in that area. I equate that property value between $200 and $400 million. Let's say you take a 25% hit on your property's value. What is that? That's 50 million to 100 million hit on personal net wealth for the people who live up in that area. It could be worse. If you live next door, which I know there's a bunch, they don't understand, there's residential all right by there. Yeah, okay, can you sell your property? There is a fifth option here as far as what can happen. And Alan Ringel, know the family well also. I can confirm that's what happened. I do know there's a gentleman who's in the oil business who has 800 acres west on 41st outside of Prattville who was also approached. And he went through a ways down to find out what was going on and the way it worked. And so I understand how the Ringel deal's set up. He didn't want to put people in jeopardy out there. He did not feel comfortable doing that. My wish and my prayer is that family will withdraw their application and withdraw from that deal and live the dream that they had always promised in their family and for friends, the dream of living up north in that wilderness, having a generational ranch and farm. That's the fifth option I'm praying will happen.
Nope, you and I are eye to eye on chasing the dollar, apparently. I spent a lot of time chasing it. You know, that last wish years, I think it's fantastic. If you go to Ringel's website, he talks on about nature and family heritage and land heritage, and I thought it was a great piece to read. I would hope the same thing. I would certainly be a little more comfortable with him if he wanted to move back and just live his days there rather than a data center. You've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, hey, my name is Christina. I lived in Sand Springs for about 10 years. My babies go to preschool and have gone to preschool here. I'm an educator, and my doctorate is in how people talk about the environment. And specifically, I've studied how that's done here in Oklahoma. So I have a little context, and then I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the context is, you don't need to just also be thinking about your city council and state reps, which, by the way, Representative Mike Dobrinsky hosted an interim study on October 22nd. It's on the Oklahoma State Gov website. And Oh, I'm sorry. It's on the OklahomaStateGov.com website, and he hosted experts from around the country. So that is there, and you should check that out if you haven't done so already. But also, you need to look at what's going on nationwide. So the reason all these incentives came into play was because President Trump signed an executive order in July, which was based on national security, saying these needed to be built for security purposes. And so a lot of times the developers and companies are going to really, really push that, and that works really well and buys into that patriotic attitude so many of us have. But a lot of the questions that we need to then ask are, what are those regulations going to be? So the first thing is, I wanted to ask if you guys have been talking to, not just for the Oklahoma state reps, but also the U.S. state reps and our U.S. senators, talking about what those regulations could be, because President Trump has been talking just in the past 2 days about putting out another executive order that would rescind any state regulations that were put in place.
So you are absolutely correct. We have started working on the national level. Again, that's really a big time consumption. We've got one lady here I've been talking to. She's actually been active in some other matters and has been writing letters back and forth. Of course, I'm sure it's somebody there at the White House answering, but with Trump, she got him involved in some other issues. I'm really hoping she has some fight in there. But you are right. So back in July, there was a document released. It's on whitehouse.gov, and it is
14318.
yeah,
Executive
winning
order.
the AI.
Executive Order 14318.
Yeah, winning the
It's-
AI race or
it's
something like that, right?
accelerating.
Yep. So if you read in that document, it's really kind of scary. They talk about stuff like removing state funding to states that are opposed to this. One of the things that I find interesting, because yes, I'm just as frustrated on the same topic as you are. Regardless of my political stance, I get really frustrated about this. But one of the things that that the president has said, right, we have enough federal land available to do all of these data centers, put these data centers on federal land. Right now, these companies will not use that federal land, because if they use the federal land, they're going to be required to adhere to EPA standards, DEQ standards, all the standards that the government sets forth. When they convert ag land to light industrial, they are now self-reporting. They don't have to report on DEQ issues, EPA issues, waste issues, water consumption. They're self-reporting on all matters of energy.
Yeah.
They won't use that government land that's available that our president offered to them.
Yeah. And I guess my second question is, even on my street, I live 3 minutes that way, just north. There are a couple guys that are retired from the Pentagon, so I didn't know if you guys had talked to military people yet about this issue, to advocate with the city council, because I've heard that from some of the city council members, that very same shtick of, we need to do this, it's part of national security, the AI boom, all of that.
Yeah, I love that sales pitch. That's one of many.
Yeah.
National security.
Yeah, so have you guys been able to do that yet?
We
Get
have
any
not, but I tell
military
you what, I
people?
love to delegate.
Okay.
If you can help me with your Pentagon neighbors, right? Like, I know you guys are laughing at me, but I'm totally serious, right? If you have the connections, I need your help. We need your help. Like, guys, I talked a little bit. I'm going to take a minute here, and I'm going to actually step away, and I'm not going to set the timer. Darren's really good about respecting time. So this is a guy I was talking about that has 8 acres, and you can produce, what is it, 1,000? No.
25,000 pounds of food per acre,
Yep, and
potentially.
he works for food pantries. That's his goal, is to provide food for food pantries for the tribe. We first met Darren. My wife is a member of the Creek Nation tribe, and the Muskogee Creek Nation also had a fight amongst their own tribe. Their city council voted 11-4 to deny the data center on tribal land, and they won their fight. And that's where I first met Darren. And guy's a wealth of knowledge. What, two bachelor's degrees?
That's right. I don't like to brag.
Super smart guy, but Darren, I'm going to give you this microphone because I think...
I'm going to speak here.
All right.
I'm amongst the people. Is it okay if I say something about the Christmas parade?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay.
You got the mic.
Okay. Unfortunately, some people have left, but I believe we have a Christmas parade this Friday. And we have a float, or you guys have a float that's been entered. How cool would it be if we had 250 walkers in that parade? So That starts at 7, right? So be there before and find the biggest group of people. Okay. I just want to talk about 3 things real quick. I know there's lots of concerns about water. I've seen this tussle between the developers and the community go back and forth, whether it's in Tucson, Arizona, for a data center out there, which Tucson doesn't have a drop of water to spare. They're on purple pipes, which means they're on reclaimed water. And I'm seeing it in Coweta as well. It's the same developer, Beal Infrastructure, different from what you guys are fighting. But they claim that they're working with the community to come up to define what a sustainable data center is, okay? They can keep looking in the book, but there's not one, right? So what they've done in Tucson and what they've done in Coweta is they said, okay, we're no longer going to use 5.4 million gallons of water per day during the warm months. We're going to go away from that evaporative cooling system to more of an air-cooled system. And to give you an idea, the difference in the amount of water per day is 5.4 million gallons a day for that data center in Coweta. It's going to drop to 50,000 gallons per day with an air-cooled system. So, put it in perspective, think of the wealth of someone that makes $50,000 a year versus someone that makes $5.4 million a year. Huge difference, okay? So keep that in mind as you're, continuing to put opposition up. And you could say, well, the air-cooled is going to create more noise pollution. So please make sure that they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's when they tell you what the sound will be at the property line. But also, too, they're not working with the community. The reason that they have went from evaporative cooling to air-cooled, whether it's in Coweta or Tucson, Arizona, is investor dollars are starting to pull out. And as long as you guys can continue to make delays in these projects, there's going to be more skepticism on this AI bubble bursting. Investors will start to pull out. It's my understanding, according to a state representative, that this project does not even have an end user. Okay? Keep that in mind. Your city council would be voting on an 800-plus acre technology campus, and we don't even have an end user, i.e. Google, Meta, OpenAI, Microsoft, Apple. We don't even have one that's signed up with this developer. That's alarming. I want to just kind of mention Google in Pryor. That started out as one building. It's now at 9, and they've announced expansions. They're going into the Choteau Mazie School District. So not everybody do this all at once, but look up on Google, the AI-assisted web search, look up what defines a hyperscale data center. The definition is in the name itself. It's hyperscale. When you look at the AI-assisted result, you'll see that in the first little blurb, in the final kind of sentence, it actually cites massive expansion. I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but that's what these are. You look at the little bullet points down below, it refers to scalability. So when I say the definition is in the name itself, it is hyperscale, scalability. It's meant to expand from its original existing footprint. Take that into consideration. The other thing is with Pryor, Google, Mays County, you can look at Southwest Power Pool, which is our regional transmission organization. You can look at their mappings for the upcoming energy generation projects. And in Mays County, these are all going to be what's called renewable energy generation. Mays County has 18 that are in the queue that are for solar power plants. I don't call them solar farms. That would be cussing in the church. I'm not going to use that F word, okay? And battery energy storage systems. They have 18 of them. Think what happens when you convert agricultural land and you take it out of our capacity to produce food, to allow for future residential expansion. We're already seeing that our president has decided to cut a check for $20 billion to Argentina for beef. We should not be doing that, okay? There was another thing, and we didn't plan this out, but national security. This is not national security. Okay, we have plenty of federal and state land where this stuff can go. This is a matter of being within proximity of a 1,500-mile transmission line from east central Colorado to southern Arkansas. That allows the energy companies to get what's called a production tax credit. They turn around and sell it to the big tech corporations, which reduces their tax burden, and the income that's generated off of selling a tax credit, that energy company does not pay a single dime in taxes. How much money are we talking about? One company alone by the name of NextEra Energy, who's backing this 1,500-mile transmission line, they have nearly $2 billion in sales of tax credits. They don't pay a dime. Over a 5-year span from 2018 to 22, they had an effective tax rate of 1.2%. They don't pay a dime, and then they get these tax credits, they flip it to the big tech corporations, and it reduces their tax burden. That puts more strain on you. And guess what? All along that transmission line, there's plans for renewable energy generation projects. Who do you think funds those? You guys do, through a de facto tax called a rate hike. So we are literally funding a tax avoidance scheme for the big tech corporations. When you look at Mays County, they got 18 of them in the queue. Think of that. So if you want to be like Google and Pryor, go ahead, but you better think twice, because we're all going to pay for it. Okay, thank you.
I'll just take a minute. My name's Rick Plummer. We own, my wife's sitting in here somewhere. We own a half a mile of fence line we share with this monstrosity that's going to go in. We raise animals, a farm, ranch, water. We got a set of issues to deal with. The thing I want to talk about, all these guys that you see and some of them that you haven't, they all work 40 hours a week. They've been putting in 60 hours a week on top of their job for this, for you guys. They're busting their hump. Give them a round of applause. They have worked so hard. We have national recognition over what's going on here. So I just want to say thanks to everybody on the board. And we've got a long, hard fight. This isn't going to go away, and it's not going to go away easy. And I'm the guy, the treasurer on the board. So I just want to ask, if you're here, please, please, go to our GoFundMe account, $10, $20, it all adds up. Every little bit counts, because we got to fight, and we're not going to let up. And unfortunately, the grease that makes the wheel go round is green, and everybody in this room knows that, because we all got to pay our bills. So if you can help, God bless you. If you can't, I understand times are tough. But we're not going anywhere. Everybody here is committed to fight. There's a lot at stake here. So those are just a couple things I wanted to say. We've run the gamut on this and that, and there's a lot of very intelligent people in this room. Everybody here is educated and smart and can see through the baloney that's coming to us. So that's all I wanted to say. If you want to come up and meet and shake our hands or talk afterward, I encourage you. But that's what I wanted to say. And I wanted to thank everybody here that came tonight. We couldn't have put this together if you all hadn't come. We talk about this stuff every day. So thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Myron Red Eagle. I'm with the Osage Nation Mineral Council. And there's also two branches of the Osage Nation. There's a Congress and there's the Mineral Council, which we're just completely oil and gas. And I asked around, I've been hearing about this for quite a while, and my colleagues, one of my colleagues is here tonight, and Maria Whitehorn, and we're just curious of what's going on. But when it comes to oil and gas and the mineral estate, it's as you might be aware, the land was allotted out in 1906. Most of you old timers remember that. But the mineral estate, anytime ODOT wants to widen the road, anytime somebody wants to dig a ditch of some form or another, you have to come to the Osage Nation Mineral Council. And just like when ODOT made the new road for the Osage County and to Bartlesville, they came to us for a permit. And if they don't come to us for a permit, there's trouble down the road, you know. So everybody needs to be informed about this, no matter who you are, no matter what stake you have. Everybody needs to be advised about it before any decision is made. What I've read about it so far, I was reading about this about 3 or 4 months ago, and there's a lot of them back east, as you probably know.
Yep.
Virginia and wherever, you know. And now I worked for PSO at one time, years ago, a long time ago. And I was a meter reader in the beginning, and then I became a power dispatcher. And that it used to be just PSO handled everything, but then now it's the Southwest Power Pool, as everybody knows, and it's based in Dallas, Texas. And everybody moved down there at one time. But the interconnection, just like the gentleman was saying, the interconnection is all connected together, you know. And there's a big interconnection company out of the eastern part of the United States, Kentucky, Ohio, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., most of those northeastern states. I don't think New York is included, but about 10 or 11 states are connected to that power pool, that interconnection. And the first thing they said that's going to happen is going to be blackouts. Remember we had that blackout in 2019 at that time when actually Oklahoma Natural Gas ran out of gas. They couldn't afford to give gas to everybody, and believe you, it's probably going to happen again, more than likely. Now these data centers, they used a lot of electricity. I work for PSO. I know what they're capable of, and they're going to have power from other sources, just like the gentleman said. But still, if more of these are built in one time or another in the future, you're going to see some blackouts. And that affects everybody. And the last time we had a blackout was in the wintertime. Remember that? It wasn't very fun at all. You know, people in Texas were sleeping in their cars. You know, so that it can go to that. So I want to, as far as the Mineral Council has been concerned, or the Osage Nation, we haven't been advised of anything, but we want to be involved. And if they don't involve us, they're going to hear from us.
That's what we've been waiting to hear. So I think Darren wants to throw something in there, and I may steal his thunder, but if you research what that gentleman just said about rolling brownouts, power outages, so if you look in the state of Texas, a data center specifically, you'll see that when they ran out of power and they ran out of water, they had scheduled rolling brownouts for the citizens, and they also asked the citizens to regulate your water usage so that the data centers don't run out of water. It happened in Texas. Go ahead, Darren.
I just want to say,
yeah, they have. They did in Texas.
right, you would be rationed to use your water Tuesdays and Saturdays only, while as the data center can use the water every day that ends in Y. Okay. I want to say one thing about the Osage real quick. Osage has the mineral rights. So they were the only tribe that actually listened to the French back in the day. And when this company goes to do excavation work, they're going to have to use seismic blasting. That means dynamite for excavation purposes. And when it's a commercial purpose, that means they're going to be disturbing the mineral, and they're going to have a permit from the Osage Nation. And if they're not consulting the tribe, these people don't know their elbow, and we're in a church, so I'm going to be appropriate, from another orifice of their body, okay? So I just wanted to make a quick shout out to that. So Osage has your back.
I'm going to let Charlie Pearson speak. After Charlie wraps up, I know it's getting late. I got a couple things I want to say. We'll wrap this up, and I know everybody's got work in the morning. Charlie, I'm going to let you be our last comment.
Well, I want to wind this down because I know everybody's getting tired. And first thing I want to say is thank you, Broadway. Because we had our first meeting out north in our building. And then we decided we need to come to town where you people was. So Broadway opened their arms, said, come on in. So we want to thank them for allowing us to come down here. And I know we talked about the city council and we talked about the city manager. I know that Phil Nolan and myself, I personally invited each and every one of them here tonight. And I said, guys, we just want you to come to answer questions, because really this whole deal has amounted to people just wanted answers. That's all any of us really wanted. And then when I sat down and talked to each one of these men on a private, separate, individual basis, I said, just tell us what's going on. That's all the people wants to know. Well, we can't do that. Or we don't have the answer. Well, okay, whatever you want to do. But they was invited here tonight, so they're not here. So, you know, what I encourage you to do is, if you live in Sand Springs, contact them counselors. Contact them city managers. And even if you live outside, go ahead and contact them people. We need to tell them people that we don't want this, and this is what I told them. And this is what I told them. And I said, guys, I'm a Sand Springs guy. And I said, somebody asked me in my hometown, it's Sand Springs, Oklahoma. I said, I'm all about Sand Springs. Any way I can help you build Sand Springs, I'll be more than proud to do it. But you don't need to do it on our backs. And I believe that. We do not need to do this on our backs. There's other ways to grow Sand Springs besides a data center. And we don't want a data center. So you need to tell them people we don't want a data center. You need to keep telling them people we don't data center. And I told Rick a while ago, I said, I wonder if there's anybody circled this parking lot tonight, see how many cars was out there in that parking lot. I'll bet you they did. And I hope they got the word that there's a lot of people who don't want this thing. So I hope they listen to us. I hope they listen to you. But at the end of the day, we don't want a data center, so make sure they know about it. And thank you, Broadway. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about 97 highway, well, we all know, and if you've ever drove 97, you know it's not made for this kind of construction. So that's enough.
Hey guys, real quick before you leave, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure you know some next steps and action plans. Also, Candace has the Project Spring. If you want a copy of it, she has it. We are asking you to you're formally invited to join our parade, or join the float at the parade. And also the city council meeting is December 15th at 6 p.m. We will be there representing.
If you want a digital copy as well, I have this. Guys, if you're on the fence, look at me. This is being built 200 feet off of my fence line. My children are third-generation Sandites, and I'm an educator in this town. Just because I don't live within city limits shouldn't make my voice null and void. And I went to a city councilman, and I was lied to. I said, if this is going in, just say sell your home. That's all you have to say. And I was told it was maybe 100 high-end homes. And I will not be able to sell my home. I will not be able to live in my home. And before I was married, I taught full-time, and I worked 40 hours a week as a second job to keep that home. And this project will rip that away from me. So please, if you're on the fence, come sit on my porch. Come see what 65 decibels and what the light pollution will do to where I've chosen to raise my children. If you want these, please come get them. I will email them to you. Be informed, guys, and reach out and be a voice for those of us that they're not listening to.
Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I look forward to seeing every one of you at these events. Safe travels tonight. If you have any questions for me, I'll be around. Thank you guys again so much.